listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Kids Talk Foundation, a global nonprofit organization providing youth advocacy, television programming, and training services in the United States, along with comprehensive medical and educational services for the developing world, most recently in Kenya, Africa, where Kids Talk Foundation provides a feeding program, medical care, and educational services to over 1,300 young people each day. Please help our youth and place your donation. Go to www.kidstalk.org. Are you in the entertainment industry? If you answered yes and you want to promote yourself, your passion, and profession, check out Creative Independent Artist magazines at CIAartists.com. Endorsed by Kids Talk Foundation worldwide.
Welcome to the Ninon Speaks Internet TV show. Ninon is an international entrepreneur and philanthropist who's become an influential and positive role model for thousands of people all over the world. Drawing on a rich tapestry of experience from her adventures both in front of and behind the camera, Ninon captivates, entertains, and inspires audiences from all walks of life. Her motto is, "Nothing happens without you." Now, here's your host, Ninon de Verde Rosa.
Welcome to Voices of Tomorrow. Yes, I am Ninon de Verde Rosa, and we have an incredible guest. But as I always say, we always have incredible guests. But this guest is actually a little bit more unusual. He deals with an awful lot of people that are really in front of the screen. But when I say really, I mean that. And he is a little bit more behind the scenes, but at the same time, he has a lot to do with where they are, why they are, and what they do, and also their financial situation, as well as probably being called up and say, "Oh, could you just run up to my house and get the cat in?" Let me welcome the incredible Brian Darling. Brian Darling, how are you? And Darling really is his last name, so Brian Darling, hello.
Well, hi Ninon, how are you? I'm fantastic. It's great to be with you.
It's great to be with you too, and I've been reading your bio, and you know you're a lot behind the scenes. Though I did not meet you behind the scenes, I met you in this absolutely incredible house, very much a beautiful home with all the paintings and everything. And of course there was a number of people there, and of course it was a fundraiser, which you probably go to more than you can shake a stick at. And we just sort of, we started chatting and everything, and I was fascinated about your life behind the scenes, and how you will control, other people's money without them getting upset. But I'm sure they do get upset, don't they?
Well, I don't really control the money. They swipe the credit card. What I do is I accurately record everything. I keep an eye on everything, where the money's coming from, where it's going to. I maintain the banking relationships, I get all the bills paid, and I just make sure that everything runs smoothly in the financial life of the client, which is a very important role to play.
Extremely important, because I would imagine a lot of, I'm just dealing with all the movie stars and everybody that I presume you do not want to mention any of their names, because you probably can't anyway. But right. It must be awfully hard for you to sort of say, no, you can't do this, when you actually know what they have and what they don't have, and you have to tell them, especially with the economy that's gone on, because it affects everybody, and they can't go and buy those extra 10 pairs of shoes, they can only maybe buy 5. And it must be a little difficult. And how long have you been doing this, Brian?
I've been taking care of celebrities and entertainment industry professionals and high net worth individuals for 24 years. I started my career in 1988. So
and how did you get into it? How did you get into this realm of society, movie society?
Well, I come from a banking background. I was a financial services officer at a local bank on the west side of Los Angeles, and one of my jobs was to bring business into the bank. So I opened the phone book, and I called every accounting firm within 10 minutes of my office, and I started building relationships with some of the accounting and business management firms.
And you must have gone to the higher end of people, though, because that's where you kind of gravitated to, was it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
in other words, you knew where you wanted to go.
Well, I'm from the Midwest, so, I'm a big fan of a lot of things. I love the theater, and I love movies and television, and I knew I wasn't going to be in front of the camera. That wasn't my destiny, but I'm a very organized numbers guy. So I sort of found my place in the industry.
Yeah, you sure did. What are some of the stories that you've actually had that have been really sort of, and I know again we can't mention names, but some things that you've really sort of had to do, which you've sort of gone, do I really have to do this?
Well, one story that I like to tell was very early in my career. I was an assistant bookkeeper at a large firm in Century City. Everybody's out to lunch. It's 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I get a call from the client. And she said, I'm at a restaurant, and they won't take my American Express card. So I immediately said, hold on. I called the manager. I gave him my credit card number just to satisfy the client. What I found out later was that particular restaurant didn't accept American Express. But the client didn't know that. All they wanted to do was, get out of there and enjoy their meal. So I really don't ever know what's going to be on the other end of the phone. There's all kinds of different situations that come up. ATM cards get lost. Credit cards get lost.
So how many clients do you how many clients can you handle? It says here, your business manager is like having a financial quarterback and also a personal concierge and a voice of reasoning all at one time on the phone. So you play several different roles here. And how many customers or clients do you have?
Well, right now I've got 2 or 3 actors. I have a couple of writers. I have a retired music industry executive, and a couple of studio executives. And really what I do is I just tap into their personalities. I make sure that I know where they are and what they're doing at all times. And I always have to stay one step ahead.
Yeah, I would imagine. Who's the easiest one to deal with? The actors, the banker? Who's the easiest? The musicians? Who's easy? Are they all just as crazy as we all are?
Well, the easiest client to work for is the client that participates. Especially in the entertainment industry, people are traveling, they're always on the go, and a lot of people just don't want to deal with it. So Brian, just deal with it. Well, it doesn't really work that way. They're working so hard to make the money, and I really want them to participate and know where it's coming from and know how much they're spending. So there's a lot of communication involved.
Do you ever give them advice, like financial advice, or help them in that way, or do they actually have a financial person that takes care of that?
Well, I'm not qualified to give financial or tax advice, but what I do is I work with the core team of individuals, the CPA. I happen to work in a CPA firm. So the CPAs do the tax work. We would bring in a financial advisor for investment opportunities and things of that nature. If there's any lending, we would, coordinate that and introduce that banking relationship. I'm sort of the glue that brings everybody together.
You bring them all together. And
together.
Yeah, the industry has always had kind of a reputation of sort of not really taking care of their money and being very irresponsible. It sounds like from you that is not so.
Well, it's very easy for a young actor or actress to get discovered and get a huge contract, and all of a sudden they've got, boatloads of money coming in. But what they don't realize, I'm looking 5, 10, 20 years ahead. This may be your last job. So
Wow.
how do we, preserve the assets that you do have, and how do we help you live actually below your means? That's the goal, is to
That
live
must be
below your
pretty
means.
tough. That must be pretty tough to get them because they're all high on the hog and they've got this, actors and actresses. I'm one of them, and we're out there. We get a job, we get excited, we start buying everything we possibly can, and we don't realize that, as you just said, that could be our first and last job. So therefore, you try to sort of organize so that they can make money off that and be able to live, many years off this.
Right. I'm always planning for the future on behalf of the client. And that's why communication and a very close relationship is very important. I need to know what are the goals of the client. Do they want to have children? Do they want to travel? What do they want to do with their life? And when you plug in all these financial components, it's really challenging to, the biggest challenge for me is to present all of this, take all these little tiny pieces and put it together into a package that the client can understand. And what I do is I create
Do they
a
often argue with you? Do they often argue with you or say, I want to do this, I don't want to do that, and you have to say,
sure.
well, and you have to be reasonable actually, because actually it's not your money, but at the same time, maybe that wouldn't work.
Well, what I do is I give them as much information as I can. I don't like to take sides. What I'll do is I'll say, well, if you spend it now, then you may have to give up something later. And I give them that knowledge and that information so they can make educated and informed decisions, but they're swiping the credit card, not me.
Yeah, that's it. On that, we're going to take a small break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to discuss. Apparently, Brian worked in Vegas for a couple of years. I wonder what that was like. We'll come back and find out. We'll see you in a bit.
Would you like to host your own internet TV show? Express that one thing that you're passionate about to millions of people? Speak your mind. Create deeper and longer-lasting relationships with your viewers. Create value. Deliver results. And effectively build your personal brand. For more information, go to www.realcoachingradio.net or call 303-997-2664.
Would you like to put your front-end marketing system on autopilot? We'll provide you with pre-built squeeze pages, sales pages, e-commerce integration, and membership portals to capture more leads, deliver more content, convert more sales, and keep clients for the long term. For more information, go to www.realcoachingradio.net or call 303-997-2664. Do you need a marketing and branding engine to drive leads into your website and product funnels? We will distribute your video, audio, blog content, and build backlinks including social proof, and much more, to all corners of the Internet, designed to attract prospects and the search engines. Visit www.realcoachingradio.net or call 303-997-2664 for more information.
Watch the Maxed Out Money Hour Internet TV show program All About Money with your hosts Ninon and Coach Steve every Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central at realcoachingradio.net.
You're listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.
Welcome back to Ninon Speaks. Yes, we have an incredible show. We have an incredible guest. We have Brian Darling with us, and he has an unusual job, which we don't really think about and we don't really quite probably understand. He actually takes the financial side of a lot of our movie stars, musicians, writers, authors, and all those people. First, let me just welcome Stickam, Blog TV, Real Coaching Radio TV Network, Receiver Internet Radio, Radio Local, New Media Radio, and TV of our new partners. Stickam is our syndication channels. And thank you for being with us. Well, back to you, Brian. By the way, you're doing absolutely great, and I know you're a little nervous for this interview, because the funny side of Brian Darling is he's never been interviewed, so he was so excited coming on. So for me, it's an absolute thrill because you look absolutely lovely. You're giving us a tremendous little bit of knowledge what goes on behind the scenes with our beautiful, incredible actors and actresses on the screen of what life really is and how real it really is. And I was talking to you, you said you lived in Vegas for a couple of years, and who did you represent? Well, not who, but did you represent and do the same thing in Vegas, Brian?
Well, when I was in Vegas for a couple of years in the mid-'90s, right after the Northridge earthquake in California, and I met a dynamic lady named Lisa Tenner, and she was a business manager in LA who relocated to Vegas right after the earthquake, and she's in branding and marketing and representing musicians, and she's quite a philanthropist. So I did some projects with her, and it's really all about relationships.
And do you like that? Are you comfortable at that, or do you sometimes feel, because I'm going to go back into your chart in a little bit, but do you feel a little sometimes uncomfortable with it, or a little nervous? Because you obviously don't show it, but do you feel it?
Well, 99% of what I do is behind a telephone. So I'm sort of like the guy that you know is there, but you never see. Oh. And which is fine. I certainly don't seek the limelight, as they say. But, you know, I really enjoy taking care of people. And at the end of the day, it allows me to, you know, get that caregiver archetype that I have and really, you know, look out for people and help them, you know, achieve their goals. And for some of them, really just to maintain a status quo where the finances are concerned. When Absolutely. Your financial life runs smoothly, your entire life runs smoothly.
And I presume yours does. I presume you keep yourself in order, do you?
Oh, absolutely. If I can take care of somebody, I'm very, very happy. That's my reward.
That's your reward. Do you get invited to all these functions and everything, and do you go, and do you enjoy them?
Sometimes. Just really the last few years I've started to actually get out in the world. My firm is a member of the Beverly Hills Chamber of Commerce, and I started going to some of the chamber meetings, and I'm now tapped into the entire Beverly Hills business community, which is a very it's a good thing. It allows.
Don't you hold a position there? Aren't you the ambassador or something? What are you with the Beverly Hills Chambers?
I am. I'm on the ambassador committee. I'm the chair of the ambassador committee. And what we do is we greet the members and we introduce them to other members and make them feel a little bit more comfortable, answer questions. Again, it's just a lot of communication and a lot of connecting.
And that probably helps you in your business as well, your company and your firm. Actually, I was at Greystone, which they hold a lot of their meetings there, and it was absolutely beautiful outside with all the tents and all the. And they're never short of serving food and liquor and drinks and all that stuff. They make it very beautiful. They really make it lovely. And also presenting what's going on in Beverly Hills, because Beverly Hills is kind of a very unique little city of its own, isn't it, Brian?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's quite a bit of philanthropy in Beverly Hills, and a lot of very giving people. The business community is very tightly knit and closely connected, and you know, it indeed is really the face of the West Coast, I think. It's just a dynamic place. Beverly Hills is fantastic.
It's amazing. I've known that well. I'm now living in Vegas myself, but Beverly Hills was my hangout for years and years and years. And I just want to let everybody know that Blog TV has come on to take over our show, Brian. So that's exciting. I want to thank Blog and all their customers and everything. So thank you so much, Blog, for coming on, and let's make it worthwhile for you being there. We are talking to Brian Darling. Brian Darling actually takes care financially a lot of the movie stars, musicians, readers, writers, everybody. And we're talking about Beverly Hills Chamber of Commerce, which he is the ambassador for. So Brian, what is the most outstanding thing? You know, we all have Chamber of Commerce in most cities and different areas of a city. What do they really do, and how do they really help? Is it communicating, getting people together?
Oh, absolutely. They have multitudes of networking opportunities for local businesses. There's also a lot of educational opportunities for people that maybe aren't comfortable speaking in public. We team up with the Toastmasters, and they come in and do seminars and teach people how to communicate better with their customers. The Chamber has quite a database of members and other people. We have a Shop Local program that's going on right now, and you know, we're really just trying to make the Beverly Hills experience the best you've ever had.
Yeah, actually, I'm a member still. Although I'm living in Vegas, I'm still a member. I don't know if I'm going to rejoin, but yes, I am a member. And I found it, for what I was doing, actually I did it for my foundation, Kids Talk Foundation, and I found it really lovely, but it was just so nice to meet all the different people that were actually interested in what you do and how they could help. So it must be, I would think it's a great honor for you to be the chair of the ambassadors. That's amazing.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. It was very exciting. Very exciting.
I don't think, Brian, and we're going to go back into your childhood for this, because a lot of things seem to happen to you which are absolutely amazing, but you're always so amazed and thankful for somebody recognizing you, and you are just such a wonderful person of what you do and how you feel and how you help people. Give me a little bit about your childhood, as you were bullied an awful lot in school. I think it started when you were about 13 or 14 years old. Is that correct?
Well, you can probably imagine with a name like Darling, you know, I kind of have one strike, you know, before.
So that was your first strike.
That's the first strike, you know, and I was the clumsy kid who, you know, always got picked last on the sports teams and stuff, and, you know, it is tough growing up, you know, especially as a gay male. That's a pretty hot topic right now. And
we'll get into that.
And what I learned from those experiences as a child is really how to have that self-confidence in myself.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get a lot of positive, you know, reinforcement from, you know, my classmates and things. So I really had to step up and, you know.
You had to take care of yourself, and how did you start? Because a lot of this is happening a lot lately in all the schools, and of course this gay thing is going around. Everybody's gone crazy about it. I never really thought about it. People are people. Do what you want. What difference it makes? It really doesn't. But I know that kids can be very, very cruel in school. What was and how did you sort of protect yourself so you weren't bullied, or did you used to walk home from school really not feeling good about yourself?
Well, the way that I got past a lot of that stuff is I volunteered. I gave my time and energy to somebody else, and you know, it's such a good, satisfying feeling to do something for somebody else. That I don't know if it maybe. I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. I don't know if I was trying to avoid, you know, certain feelings, but I spent a lot of time at the Milwaukee Zoo. My childhood home was walking distance from the zoo, and that was my playground. So.
Did you have many young people that were your friends, or were you kind of a loner?
Well, I had a small group of very good friends. I wasn't really Mr. Popular, but I was kind of the rock, you know.
You were probably the quiet kid on the block, but you probably had all the knowledge, though.
Oh, I'm not sure I was ever quiet. I've always been the one to definitely speak my mind.
Absolutely. Now, as you have, and as you were growing up, I've noticed that you actually were involved with an awful lot of charities. As you said, you did charity work. And what do you think of charity work? Is it a good foundation to have? Is it good to do that? Is it good for our younger generation to sort of motivate themselves to do that, so they're not always sitting in front of a computer and always, you know, me, and try to help someone else?
Well, I think for me, I can really only speak for myself here, but the feeling that I get when I give of myself to somebody else, it's just an indescribable feeling of calm and accomplishment, and there's so many things that people can do in the volunteer world. Some people write big checks. Other people, I personally can't write the check, so I have some time. I give time. I give my energy. I mentor teens and young adults. I share my knowledge. I want everybody to know what I know. And I think that, I'm a big thinker. I'm a big picture kind of a guy in that regard. And if everybody does a little something, it's not difficult, and it just makes everybody's life that much better. And you never know when you're going to need some kind of help from somebody else.
Well, that's true too. Do you find that in this day and age, a lot of people are getting very much doing everything for themselves and not really sharing their life and not sort of out there? Do you find that's getting a little bit more and more?
Well, I see that in Hollywood a little bit. There are definitely people out there that are for themselves, but the industry is also very philanthropic, and I gravitate towards giving people.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Now, you're very, very involved, extremely involved. I'm reading my little paper up here. You're involved in the LA Gay and Lesbian Center, which was formed in the 1960s. It's a very, very small place for the gays and the lesbians to have a place to kind of just hang out and sort of, to talk to each other and to understand and not have that lonely feeling of being criticized and nowhere to go. And of course now it's one of the biggest centers probably in the world. And reading what I read is that they actually, a lot of people communicate to them for their achievements and for what they've done. Now you're very involved in this. And how did you get involved in this?
Well, when I moved to Los Angeles, actually the first organization that I went to was APLA, which is AIDS Project Los Angeles. And they were just starting their AIDS walks, which are now, it's been 20, 25 years now. And I was 20 years old when I got here. And the first job that I had was I was a buddy with APLA. And they assigned me to a person with AIDS. And I went over to his house, and I cleaned his house and did his laundry and did his marketing, his grocery shopping for him. It was really, really cool.
So you weren't, because a lot of people get very afraid of being around AIDS. Now we all know how we get AIDS, but some people are always like, oh, I don't want to be near them. And obviously that was not you if you cleaned his house and did everything for him, which means that he was in pretty bad state, obviously. What was your opinion of all that? I mean, how do we let people know that it's really, you can still help them, you're not going to get AIDS?
Well, people are people. It doesn't have to be really complicated. I would suggest that people maybe don't really listen to rumor and innuendo. I mean, if you really want some information, there are a lot of places that you can go, including the LA Gay and Lesbian Center, APLA. They all have websites. You can read all about it. And, it's not something that is exclusive to the gay community. And if you view the world as people, we're all the same.
Well, I always say that,
we have different jobs and different backgrounds, but at the end of the day, I think Cher had a very interesting song. We all sleep alone. Sooner or later, we all sleep alone at the end of the day.
Well, that's true too, because I had a husband and I really like to still be alone, even though he was next to me. Don't get too close to me. You're right, you're absolutely right, absolutely. But I also, I was reading a lot of these different stories of friends and people that hadn't, that got AIDS and had this dramatic feeling of actually the doctor or whomever would tell them that, you have AIDS. What was your experience of that when you obviously would try to coach people or mentor people that just found out they had it? What was that like?
Well, there have been so many miraculous medical advances in treatments and research. But back in those days, back in the mid to late 80s, I mean, people would, get a cold and get sick and you'd never see them again. And a lot of hugs. I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I don't.
You're just a normal person out there, and that's why I'm asking you this, because you're not a doctor. You're just a person that goes out there and gives your time. And I guess the message that I'm trying to get out there is that Brian Darling, with all his stuff he's done, he still has time to give. And he's not selfish in keeping all the time to himself. He's out there helping people. He's helping all these people with AIDS and what else do they do at this gay and lesbian center? It's not all about AIDS. They have other functions going on, I assume.
Oh my gosh, they take care of the entire LGBT community, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. And that encompasses such a wide swath of people. We have senior services. We have a division called LifeWorks, which deals with youth and young adults. They have a charter high school at the center. We have an amazing event coming up called AIDS Life Cycle, which is...
When's that?
That is June 3rd to June 9th. It's coming up just next week. And that's a 545-mile bike trip from San Francisco to Los Angeles over a 7-day period.
Are you going on the bike trip?
Oh gosh, no. I'm not going on the trip.
Hey, listen, Brian, we could go together.
We should do that.
We could get one of those, what is it they call, the tandems or something?
The double,
where they
sure.
have two bikes in one. And you could lead, and I'll be behind pedaling away. Oh, well, just a thought.
We'll work on that for next year.
Yeah. Why not? It's something exciting to do. Why not? We'll do our stuff, Absolutely. What's been your most impressive thing about this center that has kind of, that they got it all together? And the 60s isn't such a long time ago. It's, 40, 50 years ago, which is, I guess it is a long time now. But it's giving a place for this word, lesbians, gays, that seems to be still has that stigma out there.
Oh,
Why?
Just say it 3 times. It's not so bad. Lesbian, lesbian, lesbian. Big deal.
That's what I said. Big deal.
These are not scary words. People just really haven't heard them. Some people just haven't heard them a lot. But they're just words. I'm not real big on labels.
Neither am I. I'm not big on labels at all. What about this marriage? What about all these legal to get married and everything? What was your opinion on all that? If you have one.
My opinion, this is my personal
opinion. Yes.
My personal opinion is I don't particularly care what word they use. I don't care if they call it marriage or civil union. What I'm concerned about really is that same-sex couples, in my opinion, should be able to enjoy the same tax benefits that everybody else gets. Survivors benefits, Social Security, insurance, things like that. That's really
getting married legally, obviously it has to be legal. Getting married legally, they now have all those benefits. Is this more the reason why they tried to get this through, or they did get it through, but not every state has it, but they're going that way? Is that more or less the reason why, as well as wanting to be married, but also for the legal side of it, if they part if they part, one gets everything and the other one doesn't, but if they're married, then they have to kind of split it like a married life.
Well, there's ways that LGBT couples can get to the same destination, but they may have to hire attorneys and draw up legal documents, and there may be some expense to do that. But gay couples these days, they want to be like everybody else. They're together. They're having children. They're raising children in a family unit with 2 parents. I hear everyone say, oh, it's great to have two parents in the household. Well, two moms and two dads, I think, is just as fulfilling to a child than anybody else.
What do you think about the child as a child? Because the child doesn't know as a baby, so the child grows into this and sort of, so for the child it's a normal life to them. It's nothing different. Which it shouldn't be anything different. It shouldn't be anything different. But as they get older, how do you think they feel? And they're not gay. This is a child who's not gay. Or lesbian.
Boy, these are tough questions.
I told you I wouldn't give you tough questions, but it just happens.
What I really am pleased about as time goes on, the president said it very well a couple of weeks ago. He said he's evolving on this concept. Yeah. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I certainly have opinions, as does everybody else. But everybody really has the right to exist, at least in this country and hopefully on the planet, to just live a happy life.
Absolutely.
And, if I was in Congress, I would write a line into the Constitution that says, we all have the right to mind our own business.
No, I would like to love that there.
We're all entitled to our opinions, but I just don't think it's appropriate for someone to block somebody's access to medical care, let's say, or, verbally attack someone just because they're different. It doesn't serve any purpose, and we have so many other things in this world to think about. It's really a non-issue, and I would like to do everything I can to make it a non-issue. To me, it's normal.
Yes,
there is no normal.
Yeah. Well, you come in with the first breath, and you leave with the last breath, and it's what you do in between. And I think it's, in other ways as well, whatever you do in between is what's going to happen to you afterwards, which is maybe true, maybe not. I can't answer that question. But at the same time, I think, for us to understand people a little bit more than we actually do, and it's like you're sitting in a back office, and as you said, all you're doing is talking on the phone to most of these people. You might get to meet them sometimes, but probably, not as much as everybody thinks. So you're in the back office, you're actually, you're nice to them, you're courteous to them, and this is, excuse me, this is your job. But at the same time, you're not criticizing them, you're not doing any of that.
No. It's not my role. My role is to be the objective person that provides the information so other people can make educated decisions for them, for their own lives. I'm sort of like a guide. I guide people along.
You're a very good guide. Now, we were talking about your last name, and you said, yes, when you go into school, having your last name as Darling, I can understand that. I had a really tough name when I was young. It was a double-barreled name, and it was really long, and I used to always say this name, and everybody says, what? So it's the same sort of thing, but at the same time, where did that name come from? And it's a pretty unusual name.
I really don't know, to tell you the truth. I do know,
start investigating.
Well, in Sydney, Australia, I have a harbor named after me.
Well,
apparently there's a lot of darlings. There's a lot of darlings in Australia, so I hear. Wow.
So you better not go there, because then you wouldn't be unusual.
I guess not.
You'd be just one of the darlings out there.
Well, I love my name now. It's great.
Oh, what do you mean you love your name now? You didn't love it. Obviously, in school you had a tough time, but it was a tough name to grow up with.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough. Kids are cruel, and I don't really know how they get that way. I would assume there must be some parental thing in there somewhere, but I don't know,
But it's been like that, Brian, from the beginning of time. I mean, I'm much older than you, and I know that kids were cruel when I was young and did things and said things, and even to this day, people say things and criticize. But in a kid's mind, when something's said to you, it's taken very hard, because you're trying to always do the right thing and the good thing as a child, or hopefully you are. And
Sure.
so it can be very, very, very tough. So what are your expectations of life right now, Brian? What are you off to now? What are you up to? You've got this incredible job. You've got a beautiful house in Northridge, I think. What's going on in your mind? And now you've had your first go on a TV show, being host. So what are your goals? What do you want to do?
Well, what I'd really like to do, I'm focused on the Gay and Lesbian Center. It's a fantastic organization, and as I'm getting out into the Beverly Hills philanthropic community, I'm meeting so many fantastic people, and I'm a numbers guy, so I think in numbers. And what I'm trying to do now is I'm making strategic connections. You know, who do I know that might want to know or might need to know somebody else, and they might mutually benefit each other.
So you want to make connections so people can sort of help each other and benefit each other. That's a great thing to want to do, actually, because most people don't want to do that. Most people don't want to do that.
It's very satisfying. It's very satisfying because I get to help people.
And how have you had that happen when you've introduced two people and either they've got married or they've become friends or they've done business transactions together? Have you done that?
Oh, sure. In my many years in the entertainment industry, I've made quite a few strategic business relationships with people. So when clients call in, you know, it's a very unique marketplace. So I'm able to use those, and I keep in touch with everybody. That's key. I mean, my first
and
job.
How do you do that? How would you? I'm asking these questions so that our viewers can sort of take a few leaves out of your book and maybe help them, maybe get a little more social out there and get a little bit more friendly and understand what you do.
Well, what I do is it's very simple. I pick up the phone and I make a phone call. There's all this social media stuff and Skype. It's fantastic. But if you really want to get through to somebody and talk to them, pick up the phone and give them a call.
And just say hello. In other words, don't be shy about that.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
What do you think about then all this texting? Everybody's texting. Everybody does all this texting stuff. And I personally don't like it. I have to sometimes because people really text. And I really don't like it because, number one, it's in a place where usually I can't do it anyway, which is the car. But everybody's sort of got this less communication thing going on.
Well, I'm starting to text and email a little bit. You know, a lot of my clients, they might be on set. And in the creative world, I don't like to, break somebody's creative, thought process with, this, we got to pay some bills today. Yeah. So, there are times when I think texting and email is very good, but you can't beat the real thing.
You can't beat the real phone.
Can't beat the real thing. I don't care how advanced the world gets. Send a card. If you really want to get a message to somebody, send them a handwritten card.
You're really old-fashioned a little bit out there, aren't you? A little old-fashioned. And that's very refreshing to hear that, you still don't mind doing that, and your message out there is that I start doing that, Get back into contact with people. I think we've lost that contact, don't you?
Yeah. They might have 5,000 emails, and they open their U.S. mail, and they'll have a card with a stamp on it from you. What are they going to read first?
The name. It's so funny you should say that. I have a young lady, Camilla. I've known her for many, many years. She was connected with the Struve family. She married one of the sons who owns Santa Anita Racetrack, which you probably know. Anyway, she became a friend of mine many years ago, and we're still friends. She still sends me cards. She'll send me a Thanksgiving card, a Christmas card, an Easter card. And, when you say you get that little card in the mail, it's so beautiful and so refreshing. So, do you do that sometimes to your clients, to send them just a little card just to say hello?
Oh gosh, I send birthday cards and little gifts sometimes, and yeah.
Oh, so you get very personal.
Oh, sure.
And they don't mind that?
And if they want to get me, they pick up the phone and they call me, and I'm there for them.
Well, yeah.
You know, of course they can email me, but you know, I'm in my office every day. So in the crazy world with all these things going on, you know, they know that I'm going to be there every day, and it doesn't, you know, that is the constant in their lives, really.
And you don't mind that because you're kind of, I'm not saying locked in a room, but you are kind of in an office, and you're like the grounded person there, and they could be anywhere. They could be all over the world and still get in touch with you. But you actually personally like all that. You like to, you know, you obviously like to feel the person there, that they do have one person that they can call.
I love it. I love it. It's so satisfying. I mean, I have clients that are bi-coastal. All their mail comes to my office. They could pack up and move, and they don't have to do anything.
So you're responsible for, you know, an awful lot of their kind of being, everyday life and
absolutely.
Everything. Okay, have you ever been asked to look after dogs?
Well, I don't do that, but I know somebody who can handle that for you. I'll be happy to send my dog walker over to walk your dogs for you.
So you even have that? You even have a dog walker?
Oh, sure. Sure. So, a common thing would be...
Well, is this a normal thing that somebody in your position would do?
Well, not really walking the dog, but a common...
somebody to walk the dog.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the many things.
You're like a business manager.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
If
you want a car, if you want to buy a car or lease a car, you just tell me what make and model you want, and I will make it happen for you.
Oh my goodness, you are never going to leave my side. Brian, you're going to be there for good. You're going to get phone calls from me. Brian, I need.
Hey, it's nice to be needed. It's very nice to be needed.
It is. Let's go back to the gay center in Los Angeles and give me a little bit more information on that, because I know that's one of your heart-loved things you do. Of how can people get involved, and how can they sort of change their little way of thinking about this group of people? How can we kind of change that from you that's always there and helping?
Well, you know, I really think that AIDS Life Cycle is a fantastic opportunity for everybody. The closing ceremonies are Saturday, June 9th in Los Angeles, and we'll be out at Veterans Memorial Park in Westwood. And what I do is I actually bring a volunteer team down. I've been volunteering at AIDS Life Cycle now 6 years. This will be year 6 for me. And the first year, I just went down and volunteered with a friend of mine. And the next year, I think there was 8 or 9 of us. And the year after that, there was 15. And last year, I had 26 people.
Wow.
And these are colleagues and friends and people that I work with, and you know, people that I've met out in the community. Most of them are not gay.
Well, that's a good thing to know. You don't have to be gay to volunteer for this.
You don't have to be. You just have to be a person. That's the only requirement. That's the only person that
wants to give their heart and everything. You were saying earlier that they have, with all the medicines and everything they have out there, is HIV and all this AIDS, is it getting less? Is it more? Is it dormant? What's going on? A lot of people think that that we left kind of, and we didn't really sort of take much notice of AIDS anymore. We weren't into a lot of the stuff, and it was falling to one side a little bit. Is that so?
Well, I can't really speak very knowledgeably about the statistics of that. It's definitely still out there. There's a lot of new therapies and drugs that are very successful. There's a new
so they are progressing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We will raise probably right around $11 million this year, just at the AIDS Life Cycle event.
Wow. In those, 4 days?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Those people don't understand that, or they think that they're people forgotten about AIDS. So we're now saying, no, they haven't forgotten about AIDS. There are sort of people that do actually still donate. Where do you get most of your money from? Just regular private sectors, or?
You know, there's a lot of big corporations that support the center. There's a lot of, $5 and $10 donors. If you go actually to my website,
which is what?
Which is BrianDarling.com.
BrianDarling.com. Okay.
I'm supporting one of the riders, and some of the riders have teams, and the team that I'm supporting is Team Popular. There's a link on my site. You can click and donate $2 or $200.
Or $2,000.
Or $2,000.
If you want, yeah.
Or you
but
can.
As little as $2 they can donate. That's
little bit.
Nice.
And there's people that raise hundreds of thousands of dollars. Individual people. It's quite amazing. It's quite amazing.
So you're actually letting me know right now that it hasn't died out, and I had heard that it's very much out there. People are very much into helping. So we do have a group of very wonderful people there, which I will thank every one of them, wherever you are and whoever's watching, for all those that actually help with AIDS and these people that get it, and are more people living now with finding out new ways of curing it with the medicine, or how's that working?
Well, I don't think they've got a cure yet, but it's really sort of, for some people, it's more like a chronic illness. People are living a lot longer. Education and prevention is really the key, in my opinion. And the sooner that we can, educate people, and even younger people.
I was going to say, isn't it nice for the young people who are sort of really young, really in school, maybe junior high or something like that, when they start, finding out what sex is all about,
Well, this is information that every, 11 and 12-year-old, kid needs to know. And if they don't get that information from their parents or an adult figure, they really should have access to that information from somebody else.
Yeah, I agree with you, because the problem is they don't know. And if we're not there to teach them, we cannot blame. Everybody wants to blame our young people, and I get on this case, and I hate getting on this case, because everybody thinks our young people are so stupid they don't know anything. Well, of course they don't know anything. We're here to teach them. They're not supposed to know. We're supposed to be teaching them, and if we don't teach them, then we have all these other problems.
And what you don't know can hurt you.
Oh, of course. Oh, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's the same as a lot of these young ladies are getting pregnant out there. And then all of a sudden they've got this child at 14, 15 years old that's ruined the rest, not ruined their life because they now have a little child. If they, but it ruins their teenage life. They can't really do what all the others do out there.
And then they make a reality show out of it. I don't know where that came from.
And what do you think of that?
Any
reality show.
Well, reality isn't. There are some reality shows that I find very interesting, but that's not one of them. I certainly think that people just need to open their ears and open their eyes. Don't judge. Everybody's so quick to judge. It's just not necessary. Why cloud your mind with all of that needless stuff? Just be a good person and live a happy life and help your neighbor. It's really that simple, to me.
Do you think that I think we are complicating our lives. We're complicating our lives an awful lot. We're putting stuff into our heads and our minds which really doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with the presence of the day. And I think living more, and I understand, especially in your business, you've got to be a little bit more out there, living for the day, yes, enjoy it and love it, but at the same time you've got to sort of do a few different things because you're dealing with money and other people. But people should get back to living in the moment.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And as I get older, I'm sort of kind of into my 40s now, so
Oh dear. You're very
somewhere
young
in my
yet.
40s.
You're very young yet.
But, as I get older, I realize that I do have a responsibility to set an example for the younger people of today. Yes, I was bullied as a kid, just like everybody else was. We didn't have cell phones and, internet and all that kind of stuff. But bullying is bullying. And, here I am. I'm successful. I'm happy. I'm having a good time.
You got over it.
Well, I don't think you ever really get over it. I think if you can learn from it and realize that you're not the only one. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of people out there.
Yeah, there's always things happening. There's always something you can interject. There's always something that you can actually talk about and give the excuse of why you can't move. Or not even the excuse. It may be just real life that you can't move because this incident happened and you can't sort of get through it. But you got through all of them. And I agree, you don't actually forget them completely, but you get through them all. You say, well, that was then. I can't do anything about it. It was a happening. Let's move on.
Right. I'm smarter now, and I can deal with the next thing that comes along. But communication, it's all about communication. Pick up the phone and talk to somebody. There are all kinds of hotlines, and the Trevor Project is an excellent national resource for kids. They can pick up that phone anytime, 24 hours a day, and actually talk to somebody.
So you're saying
It's very easy.
If a child out there is having a tough time getting through something or feeling bad about themselves, there's always a place, there's always a phone number or a place you can go. What was the name of that place again?
It's called the Trevor Project.
The Trevor Project.
TREVOR. And they have a very significant web presence. Actually, there's a lot of celebrities that are now getting on board. And Lady Gaga is one, and she relates to the younger generation very well. I don't really know what young kids are thinking about these days, but some of the celebrities are.
A lot of them are thinking about some very dangerous things, and suicide is one of them. So I think that's a time when these kids need to know that there is a phone number out there. Brian, I hate to say it, but we've kind of come to the end of our time. You can now breathe again. We've had an incredible interview with Brian Darling, who is with many organizations, always volunteering out there, and of course dealing with our stars on the screen and treating them just like everybody else and helping them with losing their credit cards, or they don't take that certain credit card at a restaurant, and he sorts it all out for them. Brian, thank you so much. You've been an angel. You've been wonderful. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Ninan.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Watch the Maxed Out Money Hour Internet TV show program All About Money with your hosts Ninan and Coach Steve every Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central at realcoachingradio.net.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Kids Talk Foundation, a global nonprofit organization providing youth advocacy, television programming, and training services in the United States, along with comprehensive medical and educational services for the developing world, most recently in Kenya, Africa, where Kids Talk Foundation provides a feeding program, medical care, and educational services to over 1,300 young people each day. Please help our youth and place your donation. Go to www.kidstalk.org.
You're listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.